Good morning, everybody. It's Positive Tuesday today, July 26th, 2022. Filling in for Fitzy today, we welcome back to the show Burnett County Sheriff Tracy Finch, and joining us for the first time is Grantsburg Police Department's new Chief of Police, Mitch Olson. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and of course you're watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. With nearly 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business has provided quality work in roofing, garages, siding, window installations, kitchen and bathroom remodeling, vinyl and hardwood flooring, and they can even build your home or your business from the ground up. Like Fitzy and I, they believe it's the little things that make a big difference, so give them a call. The number's right there on the screen. And also, Positive Tuesday is being brought to you in part by the Wisconsin Lakes team. It's still a great time to buy or sell, and when you do, we recommend our friends from the Wisconsin Lakes team. Anyone can say that they're an agent, but not everyone treats their clients as they would like to be treated. And that's what Aaron and Katie do. Find out more by visiting them at lakesteamwy.com. Also supporting the show are our friends at Industrial Safety. We all know that Industrial Safety sells and services practically everything that goes into a fire station and on a firefighter. They also provide kitchen suppression system maintenance, inspections, and installs. For more information about this service and to see all of their available services, check them out on their website at industrialsafetystore.com. Wow, that was all a mouthful. Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I don't know where Fitzy is. I think it was something about meth. College meth meeting, something. I don't think it's like how you make it and how you do it. I think it's more like, anti-meth. That'd be my guess, but
I would hope so.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, Tracy, you have been on before. Mitch, this is the first time we've had you on. I love meeting new people and getting to know them, so thank you so much for agreeing to this. You just found out that about a minute before the show started, that the whole reason that we had you on is because Tracy and I were, it's like, this is the Mitch Olson show.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
We're just picking up your sarcasm there. All right, so Tracy, we always, as you know, because you watch the show and you reorganize your whole schedule and all your meetings just to make sure you watch the show live. I know it.
I wish we could.
We always start with something positive going on in our lives. Tracy, I'll start with you. Give me something positive going on in your life.
Well, there's a lot positive going on right now. You'll probably hear some construction noise in the background because they are working right outside my window, building the new jail. Another really positive thing is that Mitch started his new job as Grantsburg Police Chief, and Mitch is a great guy. He was a wonderful deputy, and I really hated to lose him and Tracker because they were a huge part of our team. He was a great leader in our department, and we miss him already, but he's going to be an amazing chief.
So what I'm hearing is what's positive is he's out of your, he's no longer a deputy. He's out of here.
No, you heard that wrong.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't get me out fast enough.
Mitch, give us, obviously, you start a new job. I think it was just yesterday, right? It's like day 2 for you, Grantsburg Police Chief.
My first day. Yep. Day 2, and started day 2 is coming on air with you for the first time. So all sorts of exciting things happening.
See, you stole mine. You stole my answer, the positive thing, because actually, bizarrely, everything is going really well, which that usually doesn't happen. But I'm really excited because first, Tracy, I have the utmost respect for you as a professional, and you know that, and I've never, held that a secret at all. You're amazing as a sheriff, and you're even a better friend to me. You've helped me through a lot of things. We've had a lot of conversations. I have so much respect for you, and I think most people do. So, Mitch, I'll ask you, do you?
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for the sheriff. She, sheriff has been a mentor for me for the last, since I joined the sheriff's office. I feel like since she took over, it's been a great environment to work in. The morale has changed here. At least I know amongst the people I work closely with, we've been excited. A lot of things have happened positively, a lot of changes that have benefited the department. And she's gotten us a second canine, ERT team, robot for that team. Just all these things to help make the community safer. And I'm just hoping I can bring some of these attributes over to Grantsburg and work closely with the sheriff's office.
Yeah, so actually give us a quick update. And I'm sorry, I saw there was a question in there from Edward. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but I want to, for the people who don't know you well or at all, give us a quick bio here.
Oh, right. It's my favorite interview question ever.
Picking up your sarcasm.
Yeah. So I actually graduated from Grantsburg back in 2001. I went to the Army right out of high school, served just shy of 5 years active duty, one tour in Iraq, and then got out. Got my Bachelor's of Science degree in criminal justice, graduated from UW Superior. I began my law enforcement career in Douglas County in December of 2011. I came to Burnett County, moved home in January of 14, and yesterday I started my new adventure as Grantsburg Police Chief.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service. Like, no joke. First and foremost, thank you for your service with our military. But you were 2014, but you were in Douglas County. What'd you do in Douglas?
I was a deputy sheriff.
Deputy sheriff in Douglas County. And
Yep.
then you came to Burnett. Did you get a job here first? Or did you?
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever been unemployed. So, yeah. So my kids were down here with their mom, and I was working 4 days off, 4 days. So I was at work and away from the kids and down here with the kids. And I decided I need to be with the kids all the time. So
Yeah.
I applied to here and I applied to Polk, and Brett picked me up, and it was a great fit.
So who hired you in Burnett? Because that was before, Tracy, you were the sheriff, right? That was 24. Yeah, that was before you were the sheriff.
Yeah,
So who
actually,
hired you?
Dean Rowland.
I don't know who that is. What
He
was?
was 2 sheriffs ago.
Oh, 2 sheriffs ago. Okay,
Yeah.
so you've been with the sheriff. Well, you said 2014, and what are we on now? 2020.
8.5
So
years.
okay,
Yeah.
got it. So then Tracy comes in. We're talking like she's not there. She's the new sheriff. What role did you have when she became the sheriff? When she was elected sheriff?
I just started being a canine handler. We got the dog in 2016, and we hit the street in 2017. So I was still getting my feet wet running the dog.
Okay, and then was that an adjustment? Like Tracy comes in, and listen, this isn't about her predecessors. We're not trying to bang on anyone. I'm sure they were great, wonderful, whatever. But there's always an adjustment, and you're going to experience that too with being the chief there. You had a predecessor, and there's always some change that it just happens for better or worse, usually for the better. When Tracy came in, was it an easy transition, or was it kind of like the first few weeks? Man, I can't stand this lady.
No, it was very easy. Tracy came in when she took over, and she worked here. I'm not going to offend you by the numbers here, Sheriff, but she worked here a really long time before she became sheriff. So we all knew Tracy. We knew her attitude. We knew her work ethic. We knew her leadership abilities. So when she took over, it was still business as usual. And she did what I hoped to do. She didn't come in and drop her grenade, right? She didn't blow the whole thing up. She just started making little changes for the better, right? So that I'm hoping to do the same thing over in Grant.
And Tracy, when you obviously were working at the sheriff's office before you became the sheriff. So you, as Mitch just said, kind of worked together-ish, right? I mean, part of the same team there.
Yes.
Kind of weird all of a sudden, like, all right, now I'm like your boss. How does that work?
Yeah, I did have some struggles with that because these guys are my brothers and sisters that I've worked with for many, many years. And then suddenly I have a leadership role over them. And part of me wanted to go back to the old days where I could just sit around and vent to them and that sort of thing. And I had to really kind of hold myself back from doing that.
Yeah, that does suck, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yes, heavy lies the crown, or the head. So, Mitch, you decide, that's it. I want out of this place, right? And I want to be a chief of police. Or maybe there's a different version to that.
Yeah, it wasn't like that at all. It was an opportunity. Like I said, I have 3 young boys, a very busy schedule, and this opportunity presented itself. I spoke with sheriff and our chief deputy, told him that I was going to apply, see what happens. It wasn't because I didn't like it here. It wasn't because I was unhappy. I love my job with the sheriff's office, and if I was given a position in Grantsburg, I'll take that as it was a sign. It's meant to be. I'll move forward with it. And if I didn't, I'm not out anything. I'm still working in a place I love to work. Still doing the job I love to do. So for me, it was a chance to move forward in a career. And if I didn't get it, I wasn't going to lose out on anything.
Yeah. So did you say that you talked to Tracy before you applied?
Yes.
And what was that? I'll ask you, Tracy. What was that conversation like?
I was extremely supportive of Mitch. Like I said, I really hate to lose him, but I don't want to hold him back from doing what he wants to do. He is a wonderful person, a great leader. He's been a field training officer in our department for many years. He does an excellent job of that. We sometimes tease him and call him the finisher because he tends to be a little tough on the rookies, which is a good thing. And I'm extremely proud of him. The conversation was difficult, but I'm extremely proud that he has moved on and expanded his career opportunities.
One of the things that I've heard about you, Tracy, when you first got in, probably like within a year of some of the law enforcement people that I know in Burnett County, when I ask, because I just like asking these kind of questions, like, hey, how's the sheriff doing? And one of the things that was echoed from just about everyone I talked to was you were able to kind of, and together, not just you, but through your leadership, kind of get the chiefs together. Everyone's at the table now. We're all kind of focusing on the same thing and working together. Mitch, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually interesting. Webster Police Chief, myself, and Trevor Tex, who's going to be taking over Siren here in a couple of weeks. We're all former deputies of Burnett County.
This is like Bill Walsh or something from the 49ers, It's you look at all the different coaches that went on to coach, and Mike Holmgren came from him, and yeah, your legacy, Tracy, is something else. So you applied for the job, you get the job. Now what?
So that was a good question. That's when the nerves started setting in.
Sure.
That's you get that moment in time like, oh, this is real now, and what am I going to do? My biggest thing was I don't want to screw this up. Right. I hope I made the right decision for myself, for my family, for my career. It was a lot of nerves, anxiety. It comes with change, I think, and I don't know if you know this, but change comes hard for us in law enforcement.
Yes, it is.
We're not huge fans of it, but it's an opportunity, and I'm looking forward to it. I like challenges, so I'm gonna do the best I can with it.
Well, that's pretty much every day when I wake up, and I look over and there's my wife. Same thing. I'm like, don't screw this up, Ben. Just don't screw this up. You got it pretty good right now. So there was
that because Jerusha is a wonderful person, and we're extremely lucky to have her.
Oh, I know. I don't understand why she's. Oh, I'm so grateful, but jeepers creepers. Player coach. I just happened to write that down. It's a thought that came to my mind. I think it was because I made a sports reference. So you're in this analogy. Of course, it's like sports. You would be a player with the Burnett County Sheriff's Office as a deputy and canine. And now you're going into an administrative role. However, it's not like a sheriff's administrative role where you have a lot bigger budget. It's all of our municipalities and our police departments in our area, like the Shell Lakes, the Spooners, the Grantsburgs. You kind of have to be a player coach, where it's half administrative and half doing public stuff and media stuff and all that. But then usually based on budgets and the smaller budgets in the police departments, you still got to, play cop.
Oh, yeah, still got to do the job.
Right. So have you thought about how does that work in terms of like your scheduling also, is your K-9 coming with? Are you going to be like the K-9 in Grantsburg, or is that still part of the sheriff's office? How does that work?
So we are purchasing Tracker. I'm going to continue to run him. I'm going to finish out his career. I'm hoping to get another 2 to 3 years out of him. before he retires. I'm still available to assist the sheriff's office and surrounding agencies with any call outs they need. I'm still a member of the ERT team, although I think that might look a little differently now than it did before,
Yeah.
where I might have to be a little more selective with the call outs that I go to. Um, I think that's just the nature of the beast when you become the admin kind of role. As far as being the player coach, if you will, the outgoing Chief Wald yesterday said, he was a little banged up towards the end of his career with surgeries and stuff. And
Mm.
he looked at me and said, you know what, you can still go be a cop. He goes, your scheduling might be a little easier for you to figure out because you can still go out there and be a cop and have fun and do that job. And I started working on that yesterday with the scheduling. I'm trying to figure out a way where I can cover the majority of the day shifts and have my full-time staff cover the evening and nighttime. And it's just trying to find a rotation that works for everybody and fair and consistent.
Is Grantsburg a 24/7?
It is not. No, we have myself and two other full-time staff, and currently have two part-time staff, but I can only just give them 16 hours a week. So there are gaps in time when we're covered by just county deputies.
Sure. And Tracy, what are you going to do then? It sounds like, Mitch was just saying that he can still available with Tracker, but you're going to have to replace that. Do you have to start doing that sooner than later? Or actually, we won't have to until, as Mitch said, a couple, 3 years more of that. What's next for the sheriff's office?
Well, the Citizens Auxiliary raises funds to fund our canine officers. So they're completely donation funded, which is fabulous. That's a great group of people that help us out with a lot of things. We have a lot of young, new officers, and some of them have expressed an interest in being a canine handler. But first, they need to learn how to be a cop, and then they can grow into a canine handler role. So it'll be probably at least a year, if not a little bit more, before we can get another canine
Sure.
on the road.
And you already have another one then, right?
Right. We currently have Troy
Right.
with me, Megan, who's a handler.
Sure. So Edward had a question at the beginning. Thanks, Edward, for your patience. And the question was, what makes you think you'll be a good chief? Or a good chief, Mitch? I think it was comma, Mitch.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I feel that I'm a good leader. I'm not going to ask my people to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. Okay. I will be at the front of the line, kicking in the door with them if we have to, and I'll be sitting down with them, working through the hard stuff, the emotional stuff if they need it. I'm here to listen. I'm here to help, and I'm just here to try to make this go well.
What are your priorities? And again, this isn't anything about your predecessor, but when you come into a job and you're now the leader there, you kind of have to make it your own. And you see things that I think we could do better. Not like it was horrible or anything, right? Just, okay, making it my own, and this is what I would like to see. Give us a couple, 3 priorities. I want to start action plans into getting these, because you may not be able to, quote unquote, fix things in 2 days. But what are your priorities walking in?
Like I said, you can't come in and drop grenades, right? Everything's slow. It takes time. You're turning the ship, not a unicycle. It's going to take time. For me, it's transition. I can't remember the year, but I'm the first outside hire for the chief of police in Grantsburg. I believe, Sheriff, you might be able to help me out on this, but since about 1990, late 80s. So
that's correct.
Chief Wald was in Grantsburg for about 18 years before he took over as chief, and then he just retired. So I'm the first outside hire they've had in forever. So for me, transition, right? I got to get out. I got to knock on doors. I got to meet business owners, try to figure out where people feel the problem areas are, if there are any, what they like to see from their police department. Another thing I want to do is I want it to be more of a proactive police force. I understand, you can't always go out and stop everything all at once, but I want to see a little more proactivity, some more traffic stops, and with that, bringing Tracker with. Okay, I have a passion for getting dope off the streets, and there's, I'm in a unique situation. I got to work for Burnett County for the last 8.5 years. I know there's some problems in Grantsburg with drugs, so I'm taking track with, and we're going to get after that.
Sure. Tracy, what do you, I mean, I don't know if he's asked for advice or if you have just unsolicited just gave him advice. What do you think the priorities, if you were to give him advice, things to maybe focus on in Grantsburg?
I agree with Mitch. I think there is a huge drug problem in Grantsburg, as there is in the entire county.
Yeah.
And working together to get the drugs off the street is one of the most important things. I think it will boost everything in the village if we can get some of the drugs off the street.
Yeah, so one of those is that part of like that proactive thing? I mean, obviously having a canine in Grantsburg, that can't hurt when we're talking about drugs, and I'm just saying. That's kind of a bonus. But you would mention proactive. What other things like proactive, like programs or things? Or like, give us another example of what a proactive looks like.
So proactive for me for law enforcement is you're making more stops. You're not just doing law enforcement work, but you're getting out and meeting the community, right? You're shaking door handles at night to make sure the businesses are locked up. You're making contacts with people, just if nothing else, to say hello, how you doing? New to town, nice to meet you.
Well, that's huge. I mean, it absolutely is. Being present, being active, and being engaged. Come to find out, not every leader in law enforcement believes in that. And that's perfectly fine. Everyone has their own way and how they do things. But I think especially in a small town, which all of our towns are small towns, really, that's so important to be out. Because the nice thing is, it's not a whole county anymore. It's just a city. So a lot fewer businesses, not like Tracy having to go all over. In Burnett County, you're just in Grantsburg, so it shouldn't take you too long. So it's a year from now, and obviously you can come back on the show anytime. But a year from now, let's say you're back on. And if I ask you, was it a successful first year? And if your answer is yes, why would it be yes? What does success look like in 1 year?
Well, like I said, for me, it's the slow shift and doing things a little differently. It's making sure my people are happy. My employees are still excited to come to work. I'm working with Joel and Bridget. They both have at least 15 years experience in law enforcement, right? So they're not rookies. They know what they're doing. I just want to pump them up, get them excited about law enforcement, get them back out there being a little proactive, getting some drug arrests, getting some stops out there, and making that positive connection with the community, because, like you said, small town, you need to trust the people on your police department. And if you don't know them, how can you trust them? So for me, that's what it's going to be.
And Tracy, you're going to have to refill that position. Correct?
Yes.
But it's not going to be right now, like as you were mentioning earlier, a canine yet. So you have some young people. So I want to ask both of you this. Tracy, you can go first. What is, from a staffing level, we hear about this, and I don't think it's as extreme in our area as it is maybe nationwide, but staffing right now, where are you on staffing?
We are currently 2 deputies down. We are going to be sending one of our corrections deputies through the Law Enforcement Academy starting the beginning of next month. So he hopefully will be on the road on his own in, beginning of the year. And we're still looking for one more. It's tough to find deputies, and it's tough to find corrections and communications deputies also.
Is it getting tougher?
Yes, definitely.
So it is starting to impact our area.
Yes. We are doing interviews tomorrow for corrections and communications deputies, and we're hoping that we have a couple good candidates come out of that to fill some positions up in the jail. And but yeah, it is definitely getting tougher.
And what are you said you had Mitch 2 full-time and 2 part-time, right?
Yep.
Is that fully staffed?
Full-time, yes. I'd always be willing to take more part-time officers on. The part-time guys I have work full-time elsewhere with different agencies, so their availability isn't anytime I need it. It's whenever it works for their schedule. So if I could get a couple more part-timers to help out with filling shifts when needed, or for the events that we have in town, that'd be fantastic.
And here's the best part now. Mitch, how do you feel about wearing a blue uniform versus brown? So I don't know who Kayla is, but that was very nice. But no, 100%. Like I don't like the brown. I've never really The blue,
Well,
that's nice.
Yesterday's the first day I ever wore blue, so
It looks good on you, man.
Thanks, appreciate that.
Look, you even have a Grantsburg Police Department even has a badge. Tracy just has like a logo. Jeepers. You may want to look
I
at
do
your...
have a real badge too.
Well, thanks for, not wearing it on, for the show.
She should have brought her white shirt with,
I do like the whites. Yeah.
Does that make you feel better, Ben?
Ooh,
There you go.
I do. That's awesome. Like that's another reason I want to be a cop, but there's so many reasons I shouldn't be. But just that badge,
I agree with you.
What? Oh,
This morning my boys were in a uniform. They said, "Dad, we kind of like the star better than the badge." I was like, "Yeah, I understand, boys."
Star's legit. Yeah. We have a question, and I'm sorry, I may have missed a couple questions there. I apologize. It's but there's a question: what is the biggest challenge that you foresee in this job? I know we kind of touched on some of that stuff, but what is the biggest challenge that you foresee?
For me, it's learning the administrative role. Thank you, Patrick, for that question.
Okay, we must all know Patrick, I guess.
Yeah, he's in the other office.
Oh, got it.
It's learning the administrative role. I was very upfront when I did my interviews. I think I'm a good cop. I think I do well in that world, but I know nothing about the administrative side of things. And I've told Tracy and Chief Deputy several times that I'm going to have to lean on them a lot to kind of learn this role. Sheila, my our village clerk / treasurer over there in Grantsburg, she's been doing this job for a long time. She's going to be help me out a lot as well. So that's going to be the biggest challenge for me personally.
Well, as you had mentioned some names, and obviously with Tracy, you have a very good support system.
I do, yep.
Not just in Grantsburg, but also in the sheriff's office still.
Yes.
I don't want to say it's an inappropriate question, but I'm curious. So I'm sorry if this is too much to ask. But you had mentioned earlier that you were the first chief to be the chief in Grantsburg since like around 1990 that was hired outside of Grantsburg Police Department, right?
Yes.
So that has to be awkward, or no? When they're kind of coming out, and is it like, well, who are you?
I don't think it was too awkward. Jeff Shinsing was chief of police in Grantsburg for a very long time. And then, like I said, Dan Wald, he took over and he did the last 3 years. And then I took over. But I've worked with the village officers, the chiefs of police over there since I started here. It's not like, oh, Grantsburg has somebody on today, I'm not going to do anything at Grantsburg. We worked together. We still did things together. Joel Klatt, one of my officers, he's on our ERT team. So we've been training together on that for the last couple of years. So it's not like I didn't know the people that I'm working with now. It's just I'm working with them in a different fashion.
Sure. I think I went back and I missed the question here. This is from Edward. Can you give me your definition of community policing? I don't know why we're all laughing here. I feel like I'm the last one to know what's going on.
Well,
That's one of our deputy's sons.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's probably the other deputy.
Probably his dad that's making the comment.
That's all right. I remember one time Dad was commenting during one of our shows, and the whole time, and it was very obvious it was Dad, but he was signed in under my mom's name, so it was like my mom is asking all these questions. Like that doesn't seem like my mom asking any of those questions. I'm sorry. So go ahead. What is? I forgot the question now.
Yeah, it was about community policing. We touched on that. It's getting out, meeting the business owners, meeting the citizens, finding out where the problem areas are, if you will, and focusing some attention there, and just being a member of the community, not just a police officer in the community.
Yeah, and Kevin brings up a good point. Growing up in Grantsburg, you're really not an outsider. Unless I think people like right now, right? It's an election cycle, 2 weeks from today. I think like being an outsider is a good thing now. Like I'm so confused. I can never keep up. Is it good or is it bad? I have no idea. All right, so Tracy, tell me something else. Tell all of us something about Mitch that nobody else knows. And keep it, it's a PG, it's a family show.
Oh boy, that nobody else knows?
Or likely doesn't know.
Seeing Mitch interact with his boys is truly amazing. Mitch comes off as very crusty, for lack of a better term. I mean, he's an old school type cop, and seeing him with his boys is really heartwarming. He is a great father. He's very gentle with his kids and yet very firm, and he's a great dad.
What do you think about that, Mitch? What?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Did you just text her?
No, I
Say this.
was scared of leaving the volume on or something. So.
Okay. Tracy, I want to real quickly touch on a couple of things. Anytime that when Fitz and I do our show, we always go over any press releases or announcements or anything that kind of comes up, law enforcement related, obviously in Barron County. You guys are in Burnett County, so I just wanted to circle back and ask a couple things just for your comment. There was an officer-involved shooting not long ago in Burnett. We put a story up. The headline was Burnett County District Attorney issues letter regarding officer-involved shooting. What can you tell us about that and where we are with that?
Well, yes, unfortunately, we had an officer-involved shooting up in Danbury, July 2nd. A person went into the Fishbowl bar up in Danbury and became belligerent. He was escorted out by a bartender and some patrons, and he brandished a gun and pointed it at some of the other patrons in the bar. Deputy Peterson was very close to the call. The gentleman started walking away from the bar and was waving the gun by the highway, flipping the bird to people on the highway, and walked across the highway. Deputy Peterson arrived and started after him, told him several times to drop the gun. He followed him on foot. He was joined by a tribal police officer, 2 conservation wardens, and eventually another deputy. And unfortunately, they kept telling him to drop the gun. They kept following him. The subject turned around and pointed the gun at the officers, and Deputy Peterson unfortunately had to fire at him. So we called. I'm very grateful to Fitzy, Sheriff Fitzgerald from Barron County. I called him. Anytime there's an officer-involved shooting, we have to call an outside agency to come and investigate it. It was a holiday weekend. I called Fitzy, and he said, let me make some calls. I'll see what I can do. And he called me back a short time later, and he had a team of six of his folks that came up to assist with the investigation. They did a phenomenal job. I am so very grateful to them. They did a very thorough investigation. They got it done. They got it done in a timely manner and got it completed, got it to our district attorney who reviewed it and came out with his finding that Deputy Peterson was reasonable and justified in his actions.
Is that what's called, and I don't think this is offensive, that's usually what happens. I say something that I didn't know was offensive, but then I find out later that it's offensive or somebody's upset by it. But is that what's called or referred to often as a good shoot? Is that right? Or we don't use that we don't say that anymore?
That's not a very good term to use.
All right, so
I mean, no shoot is a good shoot.
Oh, right.
But he was justified and found justified, and it was a reasonable action.
So obviously you're the sheriff, and Mitch, you were a part of the the sheriff's office as a deputy. So it's a family. It definitely is. But that's kind of true for even like the local bank. They all work together all the time. It's like a family. Any work environment is. What kind of impact does that have on the two of you? And it would be a little bit different because Tracy, this is you're the sheriff, and everything is. Kind of falls under you and everything. You're the one held accountable and you're the one blah, blah, blah. So what impact did that have on you specifically, Tracy?
It was very difficult. I was concerned about my deputy. I was concerned about all the other officers involved and obviously concerned about the person who was shot. It's a very different role. We've had other officer-involved shootings, not while I was sheriff, and I could take a completely different role at that time, being the person to check on them and go and sit with them and make sure they're okay. And in my role now, I could do that to a certain extent, but I had to be careful about not discussing anything with him, not talking about any aspects of the case, and I had to worry about, if there were to be discipline down the road or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it was extremely challenging.
And Mitch, same question to you. When this whole situation and you being a part of that team, what was that like for you?
I wasn't working that day. And it's hard to hear when one of your brothers have been involved in something like that. Deputy Peterson and I were partners. We worked together 2 days a week, or 2 days on each rotation. So we worked closely. And when I wasn't, you feel, I don't know how to put this, but you feel like you weren't there when you should have been.
Mm.
When they got into a critical incident, you feel like you should have been there. And then you want to know what happened. You want to know details, but you can't really get into that because the investigation needs to run its course. So my role, what I could do was just be there. Take him out for lunch, surround him, check on him, make sure he knows he's loved, make sure he knows he's not forgotten about. He's on paid admin leave, so he's kind of gets unplugged from the sheriff's office a little bit, and he's out of his routine. So he just continually checking on him and making sure he's doing okay.
Yeah, I don't know why you guys do the jobs that you guys do. I don't understand it. Like, you guys and firefighters, it's just the dumbest job in the world. Like, why would anybody do this? I have no clue. Which leads me to a question here from Maddie. How will you stay motivated throughout the years? I don't think that's for you, Tracy.
I'm pretty sure that's for Mitch.
Yeah,
got a little more left in my career than sheriff there, I guess. You can never be satisfied with where you're at. You always need to strive to do better and improve. So that's how you stay motivated.
All right. I seem to have lost all my stuff. That's okay. So, last words here.
Add, if I can, about the officer-involved shooting.
Oh, sure.
We also will be doing a use of force review board, and that will be Thursday morning. And that is where a group of law enforcement professionals get together and review the case to make sure that there were no policy violations, and then they will bring their findings to me. So there is one more step yet in the investigation.
Out of curiosity, last I had heard, someone had told me, and it was just more from someone told me who someone had told them, the individual that was involved in that, not the deputy. What's the status? Have you heard? Last I heard, there were some surgeries, but was going to live. But I don't know if you've heard anything else.
I have not had any updates. The hospital has been a little difficult to work with on updates. But last I knew, yes, he had several more surgeries to undergo, and we are praying that he makes a full recovery.
Yeah, no kidding. So, Tracy, last words about Mitch. What do you want to say about Mitch?
Mitch is an excellent leader. He has always been a leader, and I know that he will take the ship and steer it very well in Grantsburg. They made an excellent choice with him. He's going to do a fabulous job, and anything we can do to help him and support him, we will always be there for him.
So if you had to write a letter of recommendation or something like that, or the city council, I don't know who does this, the council is the one that picks it all. Why don't you just write a whole bunch of horrible things about him? Because then you could keep him. And since it's a document, he doesn't see it. And yeah, he's out of the race. And then, you don't have to worry about hiring somebody else. You still have your K-9 right there. Problem solved.
I don't want to do that to anybody. I want people to be happy in their lives and in their careers. And if this is a great step for Mitch, and I hope that he takes this step, works through it, and goes on to bigger and better things.
So does that mean that you are officially endorsing him for sheriff when you retire? All right, we can skip that one. Mitch, share one more thing if you could, about Tracy and the impact and the role that she has played.
When I first sat down with Tracy to let her know that I was going to be applying and doing this, she took a deep breath and looked at me and said, "You're going to do great." She goes, "I hate to lose you, but you're going to do great." And she has been nothing but supportive through this entire time. And I can't say enough about how well I've been treated here, and I've had some, I mean, not just work related either, right? I've had some personal life stuff go on the last couple of years, and Tracy has been there for me through it all. So,
Yeah, someone had made a comment yesterday on Facebook when we put up the announcement that you guys were going to be on, and someone made a comment about you, Tracy, that I can't recall exactly what it was, but it was, I've been kind of she's known you on like two different sides. I think maybe like community. We won't get into the details on that. But she said what makes you even you're a great sheriff, but you're even a better person with a bigger heart. And I thought that was 100% spot on. It's more than just being a sheriff. And honestly, Mitch, if Tracy vouches for you, that's all I need to know. I mean, her opinion carries a lot of weight with me, and I think with a lot of people. So, yeah, so best of luck to you. All right, so what do you have coming up this week? Mitch, it's day 2 for the Grantsburg Police Chief. So I'd say if you have anything exciting coming up, but I feel like every 10 minutes is going to be exciting for you for the next few weeks.
Well, we do have some in Grantsburg coming up next month. We have the Burnett County Fair. It's in Grantsburg, and that is August 25th it starts.
Very nice. So. And Tracy, what do you have coming up?
Well, next week, Tuesday night, Mitch has this also. We both have National Nights Out. There will be one in Siren at Crooked Lake Park, and there will be one in Grantsburg at the Grantsburg Fire Department. And they're great events. They're free for families, so come on out and visit and bring your kids, and you get a free meal, and there's going to be booths with swag to give away, and they're great events.
You know, I just realized we should have been talking smack about Fitzy this whole time, because you know he's not going to watch the show, because he's not going to watch anything unless he's on it.
I have nothing but good to say about Fitzy.
Sure. Freudian slip there, I hear. Yeah, he's okay, I guess. Yeah, so he'll be back next week. Guys, thank you so very much for coming on. Mitch, it was an absolute pleasure of getting to know you. Tracy, as always, you're the greatest. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Fun.
For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you've been watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. With nearly 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business provides quality work both on the inside and on the outside of your home or business. So give Brian a call today. The number's right there on the screen. Holy cow, it just got really bright in here. 715-520-2271. Thank you to everyone who shared their positive comments and had questions today, because as you all know, it's the little things that make a big difference. Special thank you to our guests filling in for Fitzy, Burnett County Sheriff Tracy Finch, and Grantsburg Police Department's new Chief of Police, Mitch Olson. So until next week, thank you for watching and have a blessed day.